So I've been to a couple of parties in my time. Parties that start off pretty lame and boring, and then suddenly something happens where shit just hits the fan and it just goes off the rails. And it's just one of those insane, crazy nights where you're just like, I can't believe we started here and we ended here. But I have never been to a party that has started out so lame and boring, but then ended with the host trying to deal with 3 separate assassination attacks. One via several animals, not just one animal, several animals and reptiles and all kinds of things. 3 random guests and 1 person who was living inside the house. I have never dealt with such an insane, crazy, murder-heavy party. To be fair, I've also never been to a party where the host happens to be a witch, magical, supernatural lady of doom and destruction. That I know of. Hey guys, I'm Jax, and this is my spoiler review for the 6th episode of Servant's final season. This episode was titled Zoo. This episode featured a bunch of reveals and revelations, but we still don't feel any closer to Dorothy finding out the truth about Jericho. We are having little stepping stone moments, but I don't know, I'm starting to get more and more worried the later we are getting into this season. Like, there are only 4 more episodes of this show, and the show's episodes are quite short. I'm starting to really hope that the final episode is a big 40-50 minute episode, so we have enough time for everything to happen, because whilst I am really enjoying every episode, each episode, like, the closer we're getting to the end game, the more I'm starting to feel like, oh, there's still so much to be said and to happen in the show. Even though this episode, some really big things did happen. Namely, Julian's realization that maybe the woman he is having sex with is, in fact, a supernatural witch lady with magical powers. I, for one, am really glad that we didn't kind of spend a bunch of episodes of Julian just being in denial. Like, as soon as Sean just kind of snapped back into place in kind of the logic of like, hey, this chick's a crazy witch lady, and he just like said the word supernatural, magic, it's all weird, wacky voodoo or whatever. As soon as he decided that, I'm like, I think we all need to kind of catch up and stop doing the kind of is it, isn't it kind of thing that Servant's been doing for the whole show. Which, to be fair, I have really loved. I've loved how kind of coy they are without fully revealing things, and some things you can kind of presume because of all the heavy implications, but also you can kind of be in denial like Julian has been. But I'm glad that now that we're all caught up, Julian has also had that realization of horror that, Leanne can look at someone and make them get big like a balloon, like a bloated balloon lady, which did remind me of Harry Potter, where Harry does that to his aunt, but in that it's very comical and fun. In this, disgusting, horrible, and very just, there's like the gritty version of it. But yeah, surreal to see something like that happen, and Ron is there just being like, ah! Also, not to brag, he says before he, begins a brag, I totally called it that one of the nurse ladies, particularly the one who we didn't see the back of, would be a cult member. And I even thought maybe the other one might still be, because she wasn't whipping herself as like kind of a misdirect. But yeah, I don't know. I knew that moment of them being like, she's got none on her back means they're not thingies. I'm like, you didn't check the other lady, which she could just have them on her back, or the other lady could have just not done the whipping. So I kind of thought that this was definitely going to happen at some point. But the way it happened was just surreal and upsetting and just, yeah, really like kind of horrible in a weird way. I don't know, her like performance has been kind of so fun and charming and lovable while still being like a little bit kind of overbearing. Like, I've really liked these 2 characters, but that kind of just turn in her where she's just so kind of angry but gleefully like whipping herself like she's the character from the Da Vinci Code, and it's just such a odd kind of change of character. I don't know, I found it like really upsetting, and I'm not happy that she got all bloated and her tongue went blue and she died, but I'm not happy. But also, that is such a horrible way for like Leanne to kill her. Like, she couldn't just give her a little heart attack, she had to like make her bloat out. Just horrendous. You know how like a dog will bark at like someone who's supernatural, or they'll bark when there's a ghost there, and they can pick up on these supernatural senses in movies and whatever. I think this was kind of more of that, where they could just sense her weird supernatural things, and the ghost's like, I don't vibe with that, I'm coming at you. He's trying to like smash through the glass and come at her, which is just delightful. I loved the goat was just like, I will get through this glass, I will cut myself and die just to get to her. But then he smashes the glass and they hold him back. He's like, okay. Just seemed like one of those friends that got just a little bit too drunk, and as soon as someone grabs him, he was like, hold me back. But he never actually like intended to like start a fight. He was just trying to show that he's a big tough guy. That's what the goat kind of felt like when he grabbed him, because it's like, hey, he doesn't seem to be struggling. Does he really want to attack Leanne, or is it just for show? Also, side note, that animal guy, I like him. I respect that he likes animals, but just having that giant spider crawl over him, it made me sick inside. It's like, that was the biggest spider ever. And he's like, these spiders are harmless. I'm like, mate, respectfully disagree. It is not harmless if they make me want to literally die at the sight of them. Hearing that out loud, that felt mean. I apologize to any spiders or spider lovers that are watching. It was really amazing, but also, terrifying and horrifying to see Sean and Julian go at it, and just to have them kind of spit words and insults at each other. And it was kind of this moment that was really building up to something, and I felt like it was a little bit of a letdown to have them kind of have that fight, de-escalate so quickly at the thought that Leanne was going to be murdered downstairs. But at the same time, I guess they've all got to team up together against Leanne, so they can't kind of split them at this point. But it was really amazing to see Sean just kind of call Julian out, but then at the end of the episode, actually, maybe I like that they're friends again, because I do like at the end of the episode, Sean's like, it wasn't just you. I totally dropped the ball as well. And it's all this kind of realization and this kind of this coming to terms with the grief that they've kind of been holding off with this new magical Jericho. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of ties together. There's so many ways I think this could go, but I really feel like the whole family needs to just accept that this happened, accept the grief that they have to deal with this grief to move on. And I'm thinking maybe it's going to build up to this point where they try to, and then they all decide not to, and then maybe that's the death of the whole family. This could end quite tragically. Or I think they will all come to terms with this, and it will be them maybe living without Jericho, and maybe the end will be them all coming to terms with it, living with it. We'll get a cut to 9 months later, and she'll be pregnant again, or something like that, to show that they have decided to move on from this horrible, unspeakable tragedy that they haven't been able to, but they're moving on to the point where they, have decided to have another baby. New Jericho feels really cruel to say, but not replacing him like they have done with baby fake magical Jericho, but just kind of moving on and deciding, well, life does go on, and maybe we can have a second chance, but not in a kind of blocking our grief kind of way, but in just a second chance, moving on, acceptance and moving on. So I'm kind of hoping that's how it goes, because I just love all these characters. But part of me feels like maybe they don't deserve it. Maybe it's going to end in just kind of chaos and madness, and Dorothy and Leanne are going to be fighting. Leanne's doing blah, 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 kind of, wonder kind of magic powers or whatever. And Dorothy's just going to grab a vase and just smash Leanne over the head. And it's going to end in sadness. I can't decide where I feel like it's definitely going. I feel like I know different kind of avenues it can go, but it's keeping me very interested, but I am starting to get, as I said, very nervous that we are getting so close to the end. I just want Dorothy to find out what happened to original recipe Jericho, OG Jericho, but still have a couple of episodes, or at least a full big 40-minute, 50-minute finale to really deal with it, really sink their teeth into this kind of, thing that they've built up from the very first episode. I'm super curious, though, if anyone have any theories or ideas, speculation on how they think it's going to end, because we are starting to really get to the end game of the end game. There are only 4 episodes left, which is exciting, but, it's so scary, because endings are hard. The greatest shows ever can not end well at all. It's hard. Endings are hard.